Hey, it's welcome to a rainy Brisbane day and the Gold Coast too. I'm out here. So my name's Jeffrey Shaw, and my co-host is Andrena, who's on the right-hand side, if you see on the screen. I guess is on the left. She's also from Australia. And without further ado, because we've been talking off air before, and we share so much in common. So, Andrena, I'll pass it over to you, mate.
All right, thank you, Jeffrey, and good morning, everybody, or good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world, or if you're listening to the replay. Today is the 3rd of April. We're swiftly going through month by month. It's with great pleasure that we have our guest today is Dr. Bridget Goodwin. So welcome to you, and thank you for coming on at short notice, because I know Dr. Stefan suddenly had an appointment that he had to opt out, and you've stepped in. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Andrena and Jeff. It's an honour to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, it's our pleasure. So you're a therapist, and you're going to talk about all the benefits of ancient healing to do with bees, bee therapy, bee sting therapy, as some people say. And I know that it's a whole world to do with the bees, and I know we all, most of us, want to do our best to save the bees. So would you like to start at the beginning? What got you into all of this? Because I know you've shared so much wisdom already, so free to share wherever you would like to go today.
Well, the bees found me. As I say, the bees find us. As I said to you, Andrena, the bees have certainly found you, and you, Jeff. The bees found me in Australia maybe about 7 years ago, when I accidentally reversed somebody's skin cancer doing a laser treatment and using some bee products for aftercare. And I've told this story many times, and it was just astonishing, because someone asked me to treat their skin cancer, which we don't normally do. And I told that person, you really need to go to the doctor and have it cut out. That's basal cell carcinoma. And she said, yes, but I don't want my face to be cut. And she got permission from the doctor, and I tried with a little laser device I have from Korea. But I gave her some cream that I'd made from bee venom, propolis, and honey. And I was just experimenting with it and gave it to her for aftercare. And what actually happened was these big barnacles of skin cancer fell off her bed sheets a few days later. Really? And then she was using the bee cream. And what happened was her face healed and the cancer didn't come back. And I was just utterly shocked and wasn't really aware of what I'd done. So I immediately started studying apitherapy, and I found Dr. Stefan in Romania. And I signed up to study his course because I just couldn't really believe what I'd done. It was totally accidental. And I found out that most of the bee products actually have these extraordinary anti-cancer qualities. And I said to him, Dr. Stefan, this is so amazing. Australia is a country with terrible skin cancer, and many people in my family have this problem. I said, I'd like to set up an Australian Apitherapy Association and raise awareness about how this can help, because, just so many people, I'm sure Jeff will confirm, so many people here have just terrible problems with skin cancer. So that started my journey, and because I'm a bit of a serial student, I signed up to go to study apitherapy in China, and I did an apitherapy diploma in Beijing with a translator, and to my joy, really, they put me on a training program in the Chinese hospitals where, as it turns out, bee venom therapy has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for 4,000 years. So in the hospitals, this was just so extraordinary. In the hospitals, they have bees in a little Perspex box on the trolley alongside the anesthetic and the, all the normal things you see in a hospital. It's just the bee, and the doctors step out onto the balcony and get more bees when they run out of medicine. They call it funglia, which literally means bee therapy. They call it bee needle. And they regard it, I've got beautiful videos that the Traditional Chinese Medicine Society gave me of the animations of, how bee venom therapy, bee needles, been used for thousands of years. And when I was in China the first time, I went to a conference, and they had an apitherapy market of all the bee products that can be used for medicine, many of which we just don't even think about. There's the propolis is highly regarded, which is like a type of glue the bees make in the hive to protect themselves. It's regarded as very powerful medicine. Royal jelly, many types of royal jelly, many types of honey that we know is very effective for wound healing and famously can outmaneuver superbugs because the bees don't become resistant to superbugs the way antibiotics do. So in many ways, science hasn't caught up to how clever the bees have been with their medicine. So for my sins, I've done a postdoctoral thesis in 2023 on treating cancer with bee venom and sonodynamic therapy, and more study in Mexico and Canada. And I've been fortunate through the work through the Apitherapy Association to meet many amazing people around the world that are into this as well. And you discover with all of these countries what we all have in common are the bees. We're talking microbiologists, professors, beekeepers, extraordinary doctors. There's an extraordinary professor of pediatrics in Cairo who, since the year 2000, has been treating childhood asthma, bronchitis, and pneumonia with nebulized honey. No antibiotics, no steroids, no Ventolin. That particular professor, Mamdouh Abdulman, he has also pioneered work with reversing corneal blindness in the eyes with honey, and he's also does some fairly interesting treatments with intravenous honey, which I'm not really sure how that works, but so there are some pretty edgy and very effective treatments being delivered using bee products. Myself, I've become very interested in bee venom therapy for cancer and skin cancer, and with apitherapy, arthritis is a no-brainer. I mean, I've seen so many people's arthritis reversed from bee venom therapy. It's quite extraordinary. So if I just tell you briefly about my understanding about what just bee venom can do, and it's in the medical literature, it's not me hallucinating. It's been reported in peer-reviewed studies that bee venom can repair connective tissue, which no pharmaceutical drug can do, which is why it's so amazing for knees. It can repair fine blood vessels. It's a bronchodilator, which I'm pretty sure is how I accidentally got rid of my own asthma that I'd had since I was a baby. It is a neurochemical, so it relieves depression, anxiety, and it's also anti-cancer. So there's been a lot of studies actually from Australia. In 2020, a young PhD student, Kiara Duffy, had her finding in the prestigious journal Nature about how bee venom dissolves breast cancer tumours. And that was an animal experiment. But there is a lot of work being done in breast cancer with bee venom and different bee products as well. A wonderful scientist in Brazil called Dr. Andresa Barreta published all the science during COVID on how various types of propolis were used in Brazilian hospitals on nebulizers for patients with COVID, and that the bee propolis could ease the lungs, clean the lungs, and kill COVID. It's all published in the science. So some pretty amazing science has come out of apitherapy, and it continues. And when I was in China, I saw Russians presenting on how they've reversed Parkinson's in 1,200 Russians with extraordinary. And MS, in China, I saw people being treated for multiple sclerosis very successfully. So it's kind of so powerful that it can tackle diseases that Western medicine has let go through the cracks. And, I've done as much as I can, or I keep continuing to talk about apitherapy. I do a lot of talks at conferences and talks to beekeepers, talks to you guys, anyone who wants to talk about it, because I guess I'm a bit evangelical. I get very excited by how powerful it is, how successful it is, And with my own patients, as an integrative medicine doctor, I've seen some extraordinary things. So, it's quite amazing, and I'm really glad to be able to talk to you about it.
No, well, it's lovely for your sharing, because, we some people know a lot, some people know a little, and it's like, well, if people are listening, I mean, I've got propolis there, and I keep forgetting to take it, but I put it out on the front there this morning. I thought, oh no, I won't take it because you get a little bit of sticky resin. So I thought, I'll take it afterwards. So where would people start that have got different things going on? Because I know, and I mean, what I'm thinking about is, I can remember years ago we used to use beeswax polish.
Well, that's lovely. Beeswax.
Yeah.
Beeswax is the most lovely product, and beeswax is also medicinal, because beeswax is used in many types of skin creams. It turns out that it's got lovely qualities that merge very gently with our skin, and it's been used for centuries in medicine. A lot of bee products have been used for centuries in medicine. Something I made myself, I made some skin cream with bee venom, but I also have some cannabis in there as well, because the skin loves that too. It's an amazing antioxidant. And I called it Cleopatra cream, because when you study apitherapy, you go back to ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
And when you study cannabis medicine, you go back to ancient Egypt. And I was amused to read once that Cleopatra always combined cannabis and bee products for medicine and beauty. So I make this Cleopatra cream for my patients, and I actually can't make it fast enough because they love it so much. And
Really?
it's quite amazing, the results you can get. And it's kind of a spin-off of the original product I made when I accidentally reversed somebody's skin cancer. So my Cleopatra cream can whack wrinkles, and it can also whack basal cell carcinoma.
Oh, well, could do with some of that, I can tell you.
I need to
right,
figure out a way to make it.
Yeah, so like there's bee pollen and propolis, and I know I was staying in Bath with my sister, and a lady had brought in this tray of honeycomb. Oh my God, it was divine, absolutely. And I think it was about £100 for a small tray, she said, and she'd got it from her friend who is into bees. But oh my God, it was I couldn't stop eating it. it was really lovely. Anyway, so where are people starting out thinking, okay, I'd like to look into this, because obviously it's natural, there's no side effects, no do. So any suggestions for people just as a starter for good health?
Well, just as a starter for good health, make friends with your local beekeeper, or even better, become a beekeeper, because we need to encourage more bees. We need to, encourage bees, but we do need to be careful that we're not using chemicals that upset the bees. We're giving them a lovely, healthy environment. We're being very kind to them. We're letting them keep some of their produce because they need it to get through our winters and for their own health. And I guess also if you become a beekeeper, just be aware of, I think it does make you see the world very differently. When a bee stops you having creaky knees or asthma, you look at bees differently. And as you become a beekeeper, a lot of beekeepers don't know about apitherapy. They don't realise that when they're putting chemicals in their hives for varroa or something, that all that goes into the honey that you're going to eat, and it can't be good for the bees either. So I think it's a great way to connect, and there are so many beekeeping groups all around the world, and usually beekeepers are lovely people. You have to have a certain amount of patience to work with the bees. I sort of compare this a bit to how working with horses, how horses can read you if you're anxious or angry or stressed. Well, so can the bees. So you'll notice that the old beekeepers move very slowly, and often they don't even wear gloves and don't get stung because the bees can read them and the bees are very relaxed with them. There's a really interesting group that's come out of the States called Hives for Heroes, which was actually set up to help returned soldiers deal with their PTSD, because they found that just working with the bees, the way the bees work, how inspiring they are, how gentle they are, really was very healing for people with major trauma. So that's become like quite a thing, Hives for Heroes. There are branches in Australia as well as in the US, maybe the UK as well. So for returned soldiers that have come back and they're really having trouble coping, starting to become a beekeeper is a lovely thing to do. It's a lovely thing to do for all of us. My friend Nina Ilic in Slovenia runs the most extraordinary Apitherapy for Children program, which is government-backed in Slovenia for little children. And they learn how to be beekeepers in kindergarten. And they do extraordinary work. So, you know, for children, for all of us to learn, families, communities, I think it really helps us become much more aware of how important the bees are. And like friends that you've told me about, or people that I know, or myself, when you've had your health improved from the bees, you really look at them differently and you really respect how powerful their medicine is.
Yeah, because I know, it's not something I've looked into, but I mean, you know, I've taken propolis and other bits, and obviously I think my awareness now will be looking into it more. I mean, as to keeping bees, that would have been something I would have never have thought of doing. And, you know, I'm not sure whether I'm living on a rental on a farm at the moment, but there's plenty going on with the animals here, so I don't know whether they'd like bees here, but you know, it'd be worth finding out, you know, rounding about who's got bees and learning a little more. The benefits.
You'll be surprised to find that having a beehive's easier than having a puppy, because the bees are so millions of years old. They just do their own thing. They don't need you as much as a puppy or a kitten. Yeah. And all you have to do is just provide a safe place for them. They fly up to 7 kilometers to get to forage. So they just operate in the most extraordinarily independent way, and they're so productive and so interesting. Most people that become beekeepers go down that rabbit hole and find it terribly interesting. Many women that I've met in the United States, for example, that got bees to treat their arthritis are now very passionate beekeepers. And you may also know that Lyme disease, bee venom is one of the few medicines that will help people recover from Lyme disease, because the bee venom kills the Borrelia mite, the Borrelia spirochete, and really helps them build up their immune system so they can pull out of Lyme. And I know that there are many Lyme patients all around the world that are seeking bee venom therapy for this, because the main medicines, antibiotics, all the other things are offered just don't work. So yes, become a beekeeper, and I'll come and visit you when you get your bees, and we can talk about what you can do.
All right, no, that would be lovely.
I went and found that Hives for Heroes, but it's got when it comes up, it's a video clip when it comes up, and it stopped us. We got the black screen and
black screen.
Yeah. So that was because of me trying to get that Hives for Heroes and bring it into the show.
Yeah, I guess there's so many things. I think Dr. Stefan who's the president of the International Federation. I remember some years ago he and others did a study on the longevity of beekeepers, and they found that beekeepers live longer. They have low rates of diabetes, arthritis, heart attack, because of this lifestyle thing that happens when you're working with bees. You tend to become healthier, which is, some people think, a byproduct of getting stings, but it's also maybe just working with the bees, learning about, just slowing down, that sort of thing. I will say your propolis in Europe, there's a huge research group just dedicated to propolis, which is headed up by a UK scientist, James. You may know James. It's just called the Propolis Research Group, and all they do is study propolis because it is regarded as a very, very powerful natural medicine, can do many things.
I'll make sure I take it.
In Australia, when they did research on propolis, the scientists found that Australian beekeepers are throwing it in the bin because they don't know what it is.
Oh my
Whereas
gosh.
in China or many countries, it's revered as a powerful natural medicine. So it seems that there's a lot of work to be done, just educating people about what the bee products are and how they can be used. So as you say, people think, oh, it's that waxy, dirty, waxy stuff. They don't realize it's full of extraordinary medicine that the bees have made to protect themselves, which we can use. And yes, it does gum up things, but it's pretty amazing.
How do you spell that?
Propolis, Propolis. There's a lot of dentists that actually use propolis in teeth extraction. There's in the international community of apitherapists, there's a lot of dentists that use it. And I've even seen presentations from vets using propolis when they're doing surgery on, say, a dog or something like that, and they're sewing up the wound. They'll put propolis inside the wound so that it doesn't become infected as it's being stitched up. So it's used a lot for medicine. And so many different varieties there.
Oh, God, I say.
You can buy it for very little money in Australia because people really don't know what it is. You know, in our discount farm, it's often $5 a bottle, which I always buy several bottles at a time because I think, wow, it's a powerful medicine and people just don't know what it is. You can put some, I've been showing my 88-year-old mother who has some bronchial issues how to put a few drops in an asthma nebulizer, just in water, a few drops of propolis, and just nebulize it. And it's really, it's completely natural. It's not going to harm anyone, but it actually feels like a really strong asthma drug. Like it will really boost your lungs and clean your lungs and give you a lot of relief. So it's amazing how it can be used in so many ways.
I'll have to try that because I went to Egypt October and I came back with double pneumonia. I've never been so ill in all my life. And I mean, I was fine to start with and I just suddenly went. And then because I was so ill over there, I had to have oxygen and different medications, which I don't, as best of my ability, I do everything natural. And this time I had a whammy of all sorts of concoctions, which has taken me a long time to get over. I've lost hair, coming out in handfuls, all sorts of side effects. So yeah, I got a nebulizer, so I might try to put some propolis in and try that to give it a bit more.
Give it a whirl. It's so easy. And yes, the propolis will gum up some of the plastic parts, but you can wash them under boiling water. So in apitherapy, they would recommend to you that you should be taking what sometimes they call an apitherapy cocktail: royal jelly, propolis, raw honey, and mix up a cocktail and have that with bee pollen, because all of the bee products are superfoods and all of them will boost your immune system. And that will help you, if you have that every day, that will help you become stronger, will help your hair grow back and clean your lungs and boost your immune system. And if you nebulize propolis as well, that's a beautiful thing to do.
I'll try that out later. Thank you for that tip. Wow. Yeah, so I mean, I know it's such an ancient thing, and I mean, they say the bees are declining. So how much are they declining now? Have you got any idea to where they were to where we are now with the bees? Because we know there's all sorts of things going on in the skies coming down that is affecting so many animals, this plant, everything. So,
well, we should do everything we can to encourage the bees. And yes, in my country, we've had bushfires and lost a lot. And then in our wisdom, our government, when this country finally had varroa mite land, they sent out officers to euthanize whole bee colonies with petrol or burn them to try and stop the varroa spreading, which thankfully they've stopped doing. But in our country, we've done some terrible things to the bees. So the bees really need our help to recover. I mean, really, they don't need us, but we should do what we can as beekeepers to encourage them, nurture them, let them build up. And yes, people put them to work on almond farms and all sorts of things. So the bees do a lot of heavy lifting for us, and sometimes the statistics are that 7/8 of our vegetables wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the bees. Or I don't think I've got that statistic right, but it's a very, very high percentage of our food wouldn't be here without the bees. So we need them much more than we realise.
Yeah.
And we really need to do a lot more work to protect them and nurture them, because they really, well, terrible cliche, punch above their weight in terms of what they give us. And when you learn about how powerful their medicine are, it's even higher. So, I'm a fan.
Yeah, you can understand why it's not more out there than it is without going into any detail. Because I know where I am, there's a pine cone forest, and I took a walk up there the other day, and just going along, like every, 50 yards, something like that, there was a bumblebee, and all I could hear was these magical sounds, and then I go along a bit more, so that, they were all out and about in the woodland in force. It was lovely. So, I love the sounds, and I mentioned to you that I used to, in the workshops, teach the bumblebee humming for people to hit, like, your inner toning. So yeah, so bees are so powerful. So what else could we do? I mean, I remember in Australia, I couldn't tell you what the tree was now, and this tree was all in blossom, and it was full of bees. I recorded it yonks ago, but I was just stood there, and it was like, oh my God, it was just incredible. And there must have been hundreds on this tree. All I could see was all this movement going on and the sounds. It was incredible.
That sounds beautiful. I like to say the bees show us where the medicine is, and many flowering trees and plants the bees adore. Lavender, rosemary, the wattle here in spring in Australia, the red flowering gum trees that we have the bees love those. A lot of the European trees, all the flowering trees, the bees really love them very much and use them for the medicine. And when you get into apitherapy and study, say, herbal medicine, a lot of the herbs, like echinacea and all the flowering herbs that we use, people deliberately merge the bees with those. Bees love cannabis. They absolutely love it. I've got a hemp license in Australia, and when my hemp flowers are on, I took my GoPro camera in to film how much the bees are reveling in the hemp flowers, because I think, as I said, the bees show us where the medicine is. So it's actually a joy. I share that with you, when you can see a tree full of bees just savoring the pollen and reveling in it. It is a really exciting thing to do. On my farm, I have a lot of St. John's wort, which flowers in Australia in our summer. And I like to take my Labrador in several bags to harvest some of the flowers. And I feel like we're out there with the bees, and the bees are carrying their pollen bags of dark yellow pollen.
And you're like, carrying yours.
This is good stuff, and turns out that the St. John's wort's a really powerful medicine as well. And I use it
in my depression, isn't it? Is it?
You can use it for depression. It's amazing for the skin. And the way I use it, it's also a powerful anti-cancer treatment with sonodynamic therapy, because it's one of the most powerful sensitizers in nature. So it's kind of amazing, how much the bees know. The bees know all this. The bees go to the flowering plants that are really beneficial for us, for medicine, and they show us where it is. Often I think people aren't smart enough to realize, which is why we're not respecting them more than we are. But I think people don't really understand a lot generally about how powerful the plants are to our health. And I tend to think a lot of this talk about apitherapy bees, it's all about education. And when you look at, all the big subjects that are being tackled, for example, in the States now with Robert Kennedy Jr. Trying to talk to the Americans about diet, you realize it's all about education. And I think that a lot of these basic things in how we should eat, how we can be healthy, how we can coexist with bees, with the planet. It all comes back to education. And the fact that we're all stressed, we're all living in cities, we're all unwell, means I think we've lost our way a bit. So maybe I'm getting a little bit, in line with what you're saying your main objectives are with your program. But it's very interesting to connect with these natural energies and natural medicines to find, when you find them and start using them, they're actually pretty reliably powerful. And I think that it's a bit of a sad thing that since 100 years ago, they had the Flexner Report in the United States that was totally aimed at discrediting natural medicine and running out of town the women that were herbalists and only allowing white middle-class males to be doctors. And that's a century ago, and we're still running that line.
Yeah.
So people still believe, oh yeah, natural medicine, no, that doesn't work, does it? Or that's
Yeah,
witchcraft.
like Carol has written, my medical herbalist cured my shingles instantly with oil of St. John's wort after weeks of agonizing pain. Amazing. And I know I watched a little video of a guy that had shingles. Hi Anna. And they were putting the venom on. It was all up his arm, and he said he could feel it going up his face. He could feel it was starting to blister, not anyway. And this guy's putting the venom on him, and he's got it's hurting. And he said his wife was feeling it more than he was, but he said within hours he could feel all of this going down, and he could feel this not coming to a head. And he'd slept, and within a week, all of this had gone right down.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, a common injury is rotator cuff or, tennis elbow or, tenosynovitis or carpal tunnel syndrome. These are just easily fixed with, really the bees just take that away straight away. But people go and have surgery, which I feel really sad about, because they should try, but if you mention a few bees to them, they freak out. They think that's outrageous. But actually, when they try it, they're really amazed how successful it is. So,
because I know I would try every avenue before I had anything cut out. And I said this to somebody the other day, they cut things out, but the root is still there. They don't take the root away, do they? So anyway.
That was last week's talk. It was about cutting ties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know when people go and have lumps and all sorts of removed, but people have choices. But a lot of, when you share about something natural like this, people think you're a nutcase, but they don't do the research. But they'll happily go to the doctor and listen to what he has to say. And yes, they have their place, but you need to do more research on what's going to help you naturally than all the side effects. And I know from my own experience, the side effects were horrendous. But it was do or die at the time, and so they have their place. But then you have to address afterwards how to bring, because I know it sort of knocks your gut flora out for about 6 months, and you've got to start rebuilding yourself back up again. So it's trial and error with some of these things.
Yeah, but we live in a drive-in supermarket, mate.
Oh, of course it is. You're a customer at the end of the day. Well, hello. So, right. So because I know my friend at Christmas, she said you need propolis. So we got some from the chemist, and it was £5 a bottle. And honestly, I'd never even thought about propolis, not even really understood about it. So anyway, I was taking it because I think I had a cough or something still going on. But I've bought some from somebody else, and I've got the proper stuff, not going through the chemist or the, which I confessed I haven't been taking, but I should be on the case now without a doubt. So could we get, obviously I'm interested in being an elder and the aging process. so propolis would be a good thing to start taking every day, and then looking into finding a beekeeper, if you can get obviously the organic honey that comes straight from them without going through all the systems. What about propolis? Not propolis, pollen, or you can get the organic pollen as well. Can you? Would you say like that every day?
I think pollen is regarded as a superfood. There's a famous apitherapist in Portugal, Antonio, who, for an experiment, he did a presentation for us a few years ago about how he lived on bee pollen for 6 months to see what would happen. With his doctor, he had all his bloods tested and everything. The doctor said he was mad, but he said he wanted to do it anyway. He lived on bee pollen. He lost a bit of weight, but he was really fit and well, and he wasn't hungry. And he said that at the end of the 6 months, the doctor decided to do the same thing. So the doctor was really impressed by. I think he also found that his rhinitis went away and a lot of his, immune system issues improved dramatically. So pollen is a very powerful superfood, but so is royal jelly. And remember, I always say to people, remember the queen lives for 7 years, right? The worker bees live for 30 or 40 days. The queen lives for 7 years. So royal jelly is a very powerful superfood, especially for women and for anti-aging. So, Andrena, get into some royal jelly and take that with the raw honey, with the pollen, do it all.
Cannabis.
And you'll feel a lot better. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I will. That'll be the first thing I should be doing some research. I've got some.
Do you follow the biohackers? I think of apitherapy as the ultimate biohacking, really. If you get into some bee stings just for maintenance as well, that's also another booster, because you feel great. I've had people tell me they feel like they're a bit high, like psilocybin, after having bee stings. And I've even had old beekeepers tell me that they deliberately leave their gloves off because when they cop a few stings, they just feel really good. So people kind of feel well after a few bee stings, and all of these things are immune boosting. Plus, they keep your arthritis at bay. So none of us want that. We don't want to be getting old, being in pain.
Definitely not.
I just want to come to you about the bees going within 7 kilometres of the hive and collecting.
Yeah. They go off, fly all over looking for flowers and even carrying water back to the hive. Yeah.
Right. So they're out there looking for all the different medicine chests that nature's provided. Then they bring it back into the hive. And so are they segregating the various pollen from the various plants, or are they mixing it all together as one big?
I think I don't think they sort it and file it. I think if you study the pollens, the wild pollen, when they look at it under a microscope, it's made up of so many different plant materials. Sometimes it can be predominantly, if it's like a hive's placed prominently next to one very powerful flowering tree or something like that, it will be a predominant pollen. But no, the bees go and put it all together, and that's part of the magic, really. The bees put all the medicine together from many different sources.
So if the bees didn't have humanity and they were creating it, what's the benefit for them to have a hive full of honey? I
don't think the bees need us as much as we need them.
That's right. So why are they doing it? What's their...
I think I'm not a biologist, and I can't really give you a proper answer to that question other than to say they are millions of years old and they're completely happy. They're quite fast. I do a lot of filming, and I was filming with a beekeeper friend, and he was pointing out to me in the video, and I was showing someone yesterday, and it is amazing. They hatch in the little hives, in their little coming out. When they come out and they immediately go to work. There's no training program. No one says, go and lift that, carry that, learn how to do that. They just come out and they automatically go to work. And I think the behavior of the bees is one of the great mysteries of the world. How do they keep doing it? Why do they keep doing it? Why are they so busy? Why are they so productive? Why is all their medicine so powerful? That's what keeps people like me studying. And as I said to you earlier in our talk, science hasn't caught up to them. We haven't caught up to them. They're way ahead of us. So that's why they're so fascinating and so healing. So that's probably not a very good answer to your question, but I think that's what keeps us all interested and keeps me going to Zooms at 3 a.m. or across countries to learn, or turning up in Chinese hospitals and trying to work out how they're using bees in a hospital and why they're not doing it in Australia.
Well, anywhere.
Australia, in China, they have bees in the hospital, you know. They're like, no. People say, no. So, yeah, 4,000 years in Chinese medicine. So
incredible.
It is actually amazing.
What was I going to say to you then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. Recommend. Karen says, do you recommend to take honey for tumours?
Okay. If you have tumours, you really need to get some medical advice. There are bee products that are very good for cancer, but you need to find someone who knows about apitherapy, work with an integrative medicine doctor, and do the right thing. Yes, of course, honey can be helpful, but there are other bee products that can be more helpful, and in conjunction with other natural medicine. So I just encourage, is it Karen, to find a doctor and work with them if that is her problem. And, you know, it's amazing what people can do, but I wouldn't blankly say I recommend honey for tumours, no.
Yeah. So going back to the bees, if people wanted to encourage, so ideally to either speak to the garden centre, but get a lavender bush, rosemary bush, all the things that they like, so that you're encouraging them to come to the garden and get the benefits of your flowers.
It's easy to find plants that bees like. You can Google it. What flowers do bees like? And you'll find there are so many websites that will tell you. And I even had a joke with my mum when she was going to the garden centre. I said to her, buy the plants the bees are on, because they're on the plants in the garden centre. She said to me, but can I keep the bee? You know, you go to the garden, there are sunflowers, everything that's coming in, you know, to flower. You can plant seeds and watch. There's one little thing I saw once on social media, that there's nothing more pleasurable than seeing a bee on a flower that you planted yourself. So,
yeah,
you know, that's our relationship. We sort of create these environments for them. We want them to come and take this beautiful pollen back to their hive and make gorgeous honey and bee products out of it. But there are so many types of plants and herbs that are medicinal, and they're lovely in our garden. And certainly in the UK, you have a lot of beautiful flowering things to encourage the bees. And in Australia, we do too, in our native forests. I live on a large bush property with lots and lots of flowering gum trees and wattle and wildflowers. And it's quite fascinating to see what they find, what they enjoy. And usually they find the medicine. And often we haven't woken up to the fact, like I was saying about St. John's wort, we haven't woken up to the fact that it is medicine. So the bees show up.
Natural medicine.
So look at cannabis, for example. That's an amazing combination. The combination of cannabis and bee products is some sort of superpower put together for medicine. And the bees have been into it for a long time. Bees didn't know it was illegal, you know. Nobody told the plant it was illegal. It's completely nuts that the bees love cannabis so much. And it's been used for centuries together as medicine. But we're only, I think because of the prohibition, we're only just waking up to that again. So, I mean, I write a lot of books about apitherapy because I'm so endlessly interested, and I want to keep quoting the science to show people this is all proven in science. And I'm really interested in writing one at the moment on cannabis and bees, because what a great subject, you know. And one of our conferences a few years ago, my colleague in America, Dr. Jake, did a talk. He found some studies on how the bees like cannabis because it helps their immune system as well. So I thought that was very he was a special cannabis doctor, and he really likes cannabis, and he did a talk for us on how much bees like cannabis, which I thought was really nice.
Incredible. And
So
it always go on.
What do you say with bees and their natural predators such as the wasp and the hornets?
Well, I don't know very much about that. I'm not even a very good beekeeper or not knowledgeable about beekeeping, because I've come to apitherapy from the medicine side.
Right.
And you'd need to really ask that question to someone who knows a lot more about the other insects and how to manage them. So I'm always embarrassed with beekeepers, because I don't think I know very much about beekeeping, because I tend to let the bees just do their own thing.
Sure.
I'm interested in those writers that have studied how bees are in the wild. Like Thomas Seeley's written these beautiful books like Honeybee Democracy, and he's actually studied how the bees are in the wild, and he's written beautiful books about it, and which are really useful for beekeepers to read, because bees behave very differently in the wild. And they say in the wild, bees don't have varroa. They don't have varroa mite, because they know how to keep the house clean without getting varroa. They say often, and I'll be shot down for saying this, often beekeepers cause it by bothering them too much and opening up the hive too much or whatever. And I don't really want to go into that area because I'm not knowledgeable. But when you're working with bees or you're around bees, you learn that they're very, very independent. And I mean, if the bees aren't happy in their environment, if you're a quote unquote beekeeper, I think that's a strange thing, because you can't really keep bees. They're pretty wild. If they're not happy, they will just go. And, beekeepers are really offended when their hives, hoof it when they take off. But if it isn't happening for them where they're working, they just go and find somewhere else, and they all leave. So, and that's how they've survived for millions of years. So it's not about the beekeepers' egos so much as the bees' extraordinary ability to survive and evolve. So, yeah.
They just take off and leave.
Well,
They're offended when where did my bees go? What have I done? Something I've done,
About 5 years ago, we had a guy called Heinz Kruger from Queensland. He talked about radionics, and dowsing. So he goes onto properties and he does the dowsing on the property, and then he'll come up with a frequency, and he'll adjust and change the frequency of that property just to bring a harmonic tone back to the property, not only for the lay of the land and its ley line, but for the stock that's on that property, but also the humans that live on that property. So you're completely changing the whole dynamics just through radionics. I suppose if the bees hook off, then I'd be on the phone to buddy Heinz baby and say, can you come and find out what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, I think that it depends, which side you're on, really, whether you are in the mainstream beekeeping fraternity where traditionally they go in and take all the honey out at the end of the season and feed the bees pollen patties, and or you're more like me and you let them keep some of their honey to get through the winter and keep them warm and try and make sure they've got everything they need to stay at this address.
Of course, yeah. Although I see the Chinese, Australian, have been importing 1,000-litre tanks of rice syrup, and that rice syrup, they give it out to the avarists and they put it out by their hives so that the bees can go and get this rice syrup and bring it back into their hive. It changes the whole dynamics. It's not really natural bloody honey anymore.
Well, I think there's a problem internationally with people diluting or extending honey with various things, and I think some large companies have been caught doing that, which is another reason to go to your little local beekeeper who's doing the right thing. And some people say what they charge is a bit expensive, but you think how much effort's gone into making that honey. It's a huge amount of effort for the bees and the beekeeper to extract it. So, and hopefully you're more likely to have a product that hasn't been diluted with glucose or some other additive to extend it. So
Sure.
it's a big problem. And I mean, the International Federation, we're looking at trying to have more countries take apitherapy in as part of the medical system. And one of the big questions is, well, what about in countries where they have a problem with the quality of the products? And so there's many scientists on ISO committees around the world discussing this very subject, and they're specialists. I'm not a specialist on that at all, but that when you're using bee products for medicine, you want to know it's the real deal. You don't want to be having glucose syrup or something that's been extended with who knows what. So yes, it is a problem, and this thing does come up, doesn't it? You know, that we should have integrity with these natural products.
Yeah, and if you get it straight from the farmer or the beekeeper, at least you might be paying more, but you're getting the real deal. And like you say, without it going through this, and this. And I know I was with my sister at the weekend, and we were in a health shop, and I was looking for a toothpaste, and like I check the labels as best I can, but there's so much hidden in these labels that you don't really know what you're taking. Well, anyway, it said about this toothpaste for children, and then it said, I think if they get too much in their mouth, then I'm going to share it later, because I think when people wake up, read the labels, that you need to go and see somebody because they've ingested poison. This is toothpaste for children.
Yes, very concerning.
Yeah, it's, like I've shared different things about labels, and a lot of people think, oh God, what's she on, and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, wake up, be aware, and check things out, because things aren't always for your highest good.
Yeah, I think we're certainly living in a time. We're living in a time now after COVID where I think many people are much more aware, much more questioning. The questioning that's going on now post-COVID is extraordinary, and we're still looking under rocks about what that was about. What happened? What was that about? We still don't really know the full story. So yes, I think people are a lot more aware, or we hope they are.
Yeah.
So if somebody calls pandemic again, I think we're all a lot more.
Yeah. No way, Jose.
Really? Is it really? So I mean, it's terribly sad, isn't it? It's classically like the boy that cried wolf. What if there's genuinely something that's very troubling to humanity, and we're all battle weary from the last one? So it's a real concern.
Definitely, yeah. But more and more is being revealed.
Well, the mainstream media may not be around by then. Well, the actors that are representing the mainstream media will not be around,
Yeah.
Hey, there's a guy in Australia who invented that hive. It's got a tap on it. Did you see that?
The flow hive. Yeah, I think that's quite popular. A lot of people have those. I don't know very much about it, but I do know people with them, and they're happy with them. I think I'm a bit old school. That some people say they prefer to interact with the bees. I don't know that it really interferes with your interaction with the bees, but many people like those and really enjoy them. So,
can you explain what you're talking about there?
So a company, I think in New South Wales, invented a product called the Flow Hive, and I think it's marketed on the basis that you don't have to open the hive. You can just go to the hive and turn a tap and fill a jar to get honey out. That's it. So it looks pretty amazing in the videos, and I think you're probably pulling them up now, are you, Jeff? And it looks great, but I don't know how it really works in principle, and I have never had one. But I know people that have them, and they're very happy with them. So it's an interesting approach, but there are so many different types of beehives that you can have.
Well, isn't there, Jess? I thought it was just your bog standard, the white ones, and I have never seen anything as fancy as all of these. But
you could also Google beehives in bottles. People put beehives in big glass bottles or in fish tanks, or you can have, and there's a whole movement in Eastern Europe called beehive air therapy, where they arrange beautiful little houses with the bee hives underneath, and then people can lay on top of beds and feel the humming vibrations of the bees, and also breathe through special respirators, breathe the beehive air, which is regarded as highly medicinal and very good for asthma, cancer, stress, all sorts of things. So
Wow.
yes, that there are, there's, and in the apitherapy world, there's a whole thing called apitourism, where many of these beekeepers with these cute little bee houses have maps in Italy and France and Germany and Slovenia and Romania, where you can just go and hang out in these beautiful little beehive houses all around the country.
Oh, really?
And my friend Nina in Slovenia promises me that when I go to Slovenia, I can have a honey massage in a salt room, which just sounds just too nice not to go to Slovenia for me. So I'm like, oh, when am I going to Slovenia? I can't wait for that one. So
yeah, sounds
there are all
amazing.
these lovely, lovely things that you can do with bees and bees for health and apitherapy. And a lot of science is being done now on beehive air. There it is. You've got it. Beehive air is very, very popular. And the science on beehive air is that there are so many beautiful nutrients in the air from the beehive that are really good for our lungs, just like what we were saying before about nebulizing propolis. And if you have ever been around a beehive and taken the lid off and you smell that smell, it is just delicious. The honey smell, and with all the nutrients and essential oils that are in the beehive air, it's a very, very medicinal and very relaxing thing to do. So, I recommend to everybody look up apitourism and get yourself on a trip to one of these great countries. Some people in Australia are interested in setting this up now, but it's nothing like it is in Eastern Europe. So there you go.
Which country is this really into bees? Is there like one country in the world that's really into bees more than anything else?
I think a lot of the Eastern European countries are, but I would have to say Slovenia, because the beekeepers march in the street with banners there, and they have this amazing education program for kindergarten, and little children dress up in bee suits, and they're so very cute. And as part of the education program, there's no one saying, ooh, what if the children get stung by a bee? Because it's part of their culture. Many, many generations of beekeeping there. But many other countries, Romania, Hungary, Croatia, Serbia, all of these countries are very, very keen on, and also apitherapy is part of the medical system. There are apitherapists there, doctors that are apitherapists. And
how amazing is that, eh?
And they don't have to explain themselves as much as I do in Australia.
I can imagine.
My job is largely confined to education, trying to tell people, awareness raising. So I set this up a few years ago. This is called AP University, because so many people want education. And as I was just saying, I have to do so much education. I decided to make a platform where as much information as I could put on one platform is there from all the different countries. And because I've hosted a few conferences in Australia with experts around the world, I got their permission to use their lectures in this as part of the lectures. There are many lecturers from microbiologists, professors, and you can see the endorsements from all the international bodies for this, because in my country, anything that's done in Australia, people don't think it's any good unless it's approved by someone outside Australia. So knowing this, I immediately got all the international bodies to look at it really closely, and they were very enthusiastic. They said it was much better or as good as a university course in Eastern Europe in apitherapy. So this is the course content. So it's absolutely jam-packed with information about apitherapy, medical journal articles, books, lectures, photographs, recipes, and you can choose to do two 2,000-word essays or a 4,000-word thesis on any subject of your choice. And I think the reason I wanted to put this all together is because apitherapy is actually a huge subject. It isn't just bee venom therapy. There are all of the treatments from many different types of beehive. And this is a lady that I interviewed in Guangzhou who was being treated for MS with acupuncture and bee venom regularly because Western medicine didn't give her any relief. And she was so beautiful. I asked her why she was dressing like this, and she said with her MS, she didn't know how long she'd live, so she wanted to be beautiful every day, dressing in the Chinese costume. She was just beautiful. So when I was in China, I did a lot of filming, did a lot of study, and I'm still building the part of this, which is called Apitherapy in China. So, yes, that's me in the Apitherapy class in China. So,
wow. Gosh, you've certainly opened up a whole world of bees and what they can do. You know, like I know little bits, but nothing like that you've shared today. I should definitely be looking into getting some royal jelly, etc.
Get it all. Get it all.
Well, I got the list and stuff here.
And
So
become a beekeeper. If I haven't persuaded you by the end of this conversation, then I haven't done my job.
Yeah. So. No, you've done a brilliant job. It's been amazing. You mentioned that you've got a couple little videos. Are you able to share them later and we can put them up? Where you've
Absolutely.
got
so if you go to my YouTube channel is called my own personal clinic website in Australia is called ozlongevity.com. Right. Oz Longevity, and my YouTube channel is the same. Oz Longevity on YouTube. Yeah, right. I've got lots of videos there.
Right. The other thing I was going to say about animals, because I know Carol put something up about healing somebody's leg with ulcers with putting honey on, and I know I've heard people in the past when an animal's got a sore or something is to put honey on.
Or propolis. I know a woman whose dog had a big tumor. And she took it to the vet, and the vet said, yes, I'll have to take the leg off. That operation will be $4,000. And she said while she was saving up the money for the operation, she put propolis on the tumor and it went away. The dog didn't need the operation.
No, I bet.
Okay, so what's that YouTube channel?
Oz Longevity. Just Oz Longevity.
Yeah, no, of course, we didn't have time to, put all your stuff on because it was such short notice. And like I said, really grateful and thankful that you have. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
OZ? Is it OZ or?
OZ Longevity. Oz Longevity. YouTube.
LONG?
Oz LONGEVITY. I also have a lot of books on Amazon. If you wanted to look at my books my thesis is on Amazon, which was about treating cancer with bee venom and sonodynamic therapy. I've also written one recently about apitherapy for regeneration, all based on the science. There it is. And that's my website, Oz Longevity. So if you go to just click on the one called videos, just videos, you'll see there's a little video there of a famous Lyme patient in America called John Fulbright. That's his 4-year-old daughter treating him with bee stings, Esme. But if you click on the one called videos, there's lots of other videos on my channel that you're very welcome to use. I've recently been doing a lot on sonodynamic therapy, so there's a lot of videos about sono there. And this one down here is my 88-year-old mum. That's a very good video if you want to play it. I showed her how to do bee venom therapy, and then I got her to make a video to show other people because she was getting terrible problems with her arthritis. And I got her to make a video to show other people how to sting themselves with bees for arthritis. And quite amazingly, it ended up on the national news, my 88-year-old mother treating herself with bees. There you go. Do you want to play it? We're not getting the sound, but
I think we had this before, didn't we, Jeff, when you tried to play something on YouTube through our link? I don't think the sound would work.
Anyway, you're very welcome to look at all the videos there, and also my books. I think on my website, Oz Longevity, I also have my books sitting there too, many books on apitherapy.
I'll have a look later.
Lyme disease and other subjects.
Well, you've been an absolute delight this morning listening to you, or for you coming on this evening. I've really enjoyed all your sharing. I really have. It's been a real eye-opener. And hopefully a lot more people will take on board what you've said and go out and get propolis and pollen and jelly and have a nice cocktail of good bee juice.
They call it an AP cocktail. AP all the bee products. Yeah. So I don't know what's up. My 5-year-old Labrador had arthritis 5 years ago, and I gave her AP cocktails, and her arthritis went away, and she went really shiny. Other than that, the vet was offering her just painkillers, and I thought, that's not good enough. No. And now she's 11. She's 11, and she's doing really well. No arthritis, but animals respond very well to natural medicine. In fact, in China, I saw a presentation from a beautiful vet called Alejandra from Chile. She showed picture after picture of the most extraordinary healing that she'd done using apitherapy, traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture on horses who'd been really very badly injured. The type of injuries that were in my country, they put them down. And she showed picture after picture, before and after of extraordinary healing using propolis, honey on wounds, bee venom injections for the horse. And the horses just recovered. And I was so blown away by her, asked her questions, and she told us that in her community, the local community ganged up on her and said, "That's enough of this. We want you to treat humans as well as animals." So she said, "In my clinic, on this side, I have the animals, and on this side, I have the humans," because they all coming to her extraordinary work as a vet.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you see these things and you think, and another woman from Romania presenting on how 50 of her patients had gone into remission with MS using bee venom injections. So, this is something that people really need to be aware of, because these illnesses are very challenging in Western medicine and apparently very easy to treat or very successfully treated using apitherapy. So very encouraging.
Yeah. Wow. I got so much to look at and watch your videos and look into afterwards and find the local beekeeper and so thank you so much.
Become a beekeeper. Become a beekeeper. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will. You will. You'll get the bug.
I'll have to speak to my landlady and see if she fancies doing some bees. But no,
anyway, it's been a real honor. Thank you so much. And people are very welcome to contact me with any questions. And, I'm doing lots of talks all the time, and I get inquiries from around the world, and so many friends on Facebook from around the world. You're welcome to become my friend on Facebook. So many people are from so many countries, it's impossible to keep up with. So, but it is very exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight. So, and thank you everybody for tuning in this week, and same time, same place next week. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Hey, before we go, I'm going to ask anybody who's watching the show live to go and save it, because you know what's going to happen. Google or Facebook will say it goes against community health standards. So I'm telling you, anybody who's watching the show, go and save the show and back it up on your own hard drive, and then you can privately share it. Yeah, because this truth needs to get out there. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Well, the fact checkers can check everything's in science. So, but even the fact checkers are not really fact checkers, are they?
No.
So.
Yeah,
They
another.
don't want those. They don't want those facts. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if what I was going to say, if you're on Facebook, you can go to hang on a sec.
You can go to Apitherapy Australia.
No,
You
I
can go
just want to get.
Bridget Goodwin.
Hang on a minute.
How do we save it then?
No, hang on a sec. This is what I'm going to do.
It's a terrible world, isn't it, when we know that our discussions are going to be deleted or taken down.
Yeah, we get email from YouTube saying your show has been taken down. And it was about 3 months ago, and I think so.
Oh, hang on a sec.
Well, you could put it up afterwards. What people
No,
need to
if I
do.
do it now, because when it goes live, because it goes to every other platform that we go to. Just, why isn't it bloody acting? It seems to have locked up. When I got your mum's video, we got 780 megabytes downloads, and we got 40 up, and it just wouldn't take your mum's video. It just stopped us.
Oh, right. That's okay. Well, people can check it out on the YouTube channel anyway.
Yeah, no, what I want to get people to do is go to https //fdown.net. Yeah, and if you get that, then you can go to your Facebook page that you've been watching, and then you can click and save the file, and it'll go down onto your hard drive. Bloody hell. Yeah, okay. Look, it's locked up, mate. You can't believe it, innit? You can't believe it. We're telling people to save it.
You can.
Okay?
You can. Well, maybe you can type it in afterwards and put a little note saying.
You can't even do that. Okay. Bugger. All right. Love you. Thank you very much for coming. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Will you send me a copy of this?
Yeah, when
Andrena
if you just wait a minute, Jeff will switch all of this off and
Okay. How lovely. Thank you.
Guess what?
go on. You're stuck.
Won't even go exit.
All right, Jeffrey's gone.
He deleted himself.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so you probably come back on. He might have got rid of the blockage.